but since I'm talking, I guess I might as well just bring up like how like when you argue with the anti-flat earther and you bring up gas pressure without containment, you can't have it without containment, right? They always say that, well, how do you have a gradient then? Like, how do you have more gas pressure, at a lower elevation than a higher elevation? Like, and I understand that the gas is made at a lower elevation from the ground, and maybe that has something to do with it. But like, what would be the best rebuttal to that?
Your gravity.
No, the best. Hold on, let me give you the answer. Gas pressure gradients can exist in closed systems, no problem. You can actually demonstrate this. We actually have demonstrations of it, videos, whatever. So one of them is someone takes a tank and sends it into another tank, right? But they're different gases, and because they're different gases, you'll get a gas pressure gradient. You'll get a different pressure in each tank. So we can have a closed system that has a gradient. It's not really a problem. The thing is, you can't have a gas pressure gradient in an open system. Not for long, at least.
And we can manipulate it in the container. We can manipulate that gradient.
See, they're confused because when they say, oh, if it's a closed system, how's there a gas pressure gradient? There would be no gradient in a static closed system. But we're not claiming the Earth is a static closed system. We're claiming it's a dynamic closed system. Right?
Right, it's not a ball.
There's processes happening, right? There's exchange of gases, energy, heat, all these things constantly in flux. So you're not gonna get a stable thermodynamic equilibrium throughout the entire system. It's not possible because everything's it's dynamic, not static. It's a red herring argument, really. The one thing you could bring up to them. They'll say, well, there's a gradient. So, it makes sense to say, hey, it goes down, so it's going to keep going down. You ask them, does it ever go to zero?
And then back up.
Right? So it has to, if it doesn't go to zero, there has to be a container. So if they're going to make the argument that it just goes down and down and down as you go into space, okay, when does it stop? When does it go to zero? And they'll say, well, it don't go to zero. Okay, then there has to be a bigger container then. Yeah, the point is if they're going to make the claim that, like, it logically, hey, if it goes down, it makes sense for it to keep going down. Yeah, well, it also makes sense that it keeps going down all the way to zero. And here's something I always wondered, even back when I was a kid, like, why doesn't gravity go down? If gravity holds the air, why doesn't the pressure go down the way gravity is supposed to work, inversely proportional to the square of the distance? How come, like, you go up freaking 20 feet from 4 feet, it's 4 times less pressure, and then 30 feet is 8 times less pressure, and and 16 and 32, 64, et cetera, right? How come the air pressure doesn't follow gravity? Because they say gravity holds the air down. Well, why doesn't it follow the rule that gravity falls off, inversely proportional to the square of the distance? They just like cherry picking shit, really, to make an unfalsifiable nonsense fall.
Yeah, no, that actually made a lot of sense just now.
I'm glad I can help. Well, I'll bring something up that I bring up occasionally. So the ancient Chinese thought that the ground breathed. It was called earth, air, breath, or something like that. It was like part of their ancient culture, and there's actually Chinese, and they dismissed it because the Chinese got westernized, so they pushed that off as like superstition. But some Chinese scientists they went and looked for it to see if this actually happens, like that the Earth breathes like once a day. That once a day it releases air from the ground into the air, right? So gases, and they've actually found that this actually happens. So once a day, there's like an exhalation of air. They went to the Gobi Desert to test this because the Gobi Desert is like the driest desert on Earth. So that's where they went, and they like basically made thermocouples and humidity monitors and all that shit. and they would just measure what the air was doing close to the ground all day, and so they actually recorded this effect a couple times because they did another experiment on mirages, but because they were researching what was considered a myth, they had to basically go do one experiment to get the data for their other theory. So they're like, oh, we're testing mirages. We're going to go measure some. We're going to go measure the temperature gradient and humidity gradient to test for mirages. But they were actually looking. They wanted the data to find evidence of this Earth, air, wind thing.
Outgassing of Earth, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Basically, that's what it is. The Earth outgassing once a day, which goes to the idea that air is created at the ground, and then you have like most of the water, most of the ocean is water, and when water gets hot, it dissolves gases into it. Right? So you got the waves, sloshing around. When that gets warmed up by the sun, it's going to dissolve air into it. But then when the sun goes down, it can't hold that air anymore, and it's going to release it. So air is constantly being dissolved into water and exhaled from the water, which is another reason why global warming is fun, because as water gets heated up, it will dissolve more carbon dioxide into it, right? So it'll be scrubbing the air from carbon dioxide if everything got hotter, right? It's always trying to reach, thermodynamic equilibrium between the gases and the liquids and in the ground and everything else. But it's never going to, as long as, the sun exists. You just made me think about how much the phrase splitting the atom is just utter fucking propaganda.
Yes.
That phrase, think about it. The atom is supposed to be indivisible. That's what the word atom means, something that's indivisible. So when you say, I split the atom, it's like I broke creation, or I broke reality, or I violated the laws of nature, dude. It's like loaded with this crazy propaganda. I never realized this shit.
Did you guys see that picture that went kind of viral of the what looked like two suns, and it was the moon and the sun from the North Pole on horizon? Does anyone know what I'm referring to?
I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. Like, I've seen 2 suns, 3 suns, 5 suns. Here, there's an observation. Now, they weren't like the full sun. They looked like the sun kind of looked like it was setting in a line. But there was like 5 sunsets happening simultaneously in the polar region. So you get a lot of weird observations in the polar regions that are just crazy. And if you look at like, there's a flat earther who's got a PhD in anthropology, and he went over like what the Romans used to call portents. So they would write down all the weird observations that would happen because they thought it would be some omen or something, right? So they would write them all down, and there's lots of observations of like 1 sun, 2 suns, 3 suns. Like it's like you got to think you got a time period of like 1,000 years to write everything down. A lot of shit's gonna happen. So there's there's lots of observations of multiple instances of the same celestial body appearing. But no, to answer your question, I've never seen the one you're talking about in particularly. Do you have a link, maybe? Oh, he dropped, dude. Hey, the fuck? But I tell you, I posted something about website. It's called "The Characteristic Mechanisms of the Formation of Earth Air Pulsations in Extremely Arid Areas." Yeah, so
I was just looking at that. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I don't speak Chinese. That's Hakyu or something like that. Is that like Haktua? Some weird shit. Pineapple one, man.
Why is everyone just muted, dude?
I mean, there's no like.
We're just
This is
hanging
like
out.
You ever
We
seen
like
like
to watch.
hyenas? We're waiting for a freaking wounded fucking zebra to go walking across the prairie.
Oh, okay.
Are you that guy?
Well, I don't know. Do you guys believe in flat Earth? Can I debate you?
Fuck yeah.
You do or
Believe.
you don't?
I take umbrage with the word believe.
Okay. So you're flat earthers.
Yes. The whole
Okay.
chat.
The whole chat? Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There
6,
might be
7.
a couple. There might be a couple Glovers in here. Hold on, let me look real quick. No.
Dude, if you look, this room
Yeah, I
is
don't see
number
any.
1 in this server, man.
Holy
traffic.
shit.
So, what do you know about this topic?
So I actually don't know much about the flat earther argument. So I'm a little curious there. What's
Believers
the
are ignorant
Well, hold on before you start all this. Are you aware of like the memes or like silly videos or like articles on the
I mean,
internet?
I'm aware of them, but I haven't really like watched many or anything. I'm aware they exist.
Okay. Let's start off here. We don't think
Okay.
Earth is a disk in space and that it's the third disk from the sun in a solar system. So let's start there.
Okay, that's a good
So
place to start.
that's it, because that's a typical place how it's portrayed, right? They'll show Earth in outer space, floating in space with the water falling off the edges of the Earth.
Yeah.
We don't think that. Okay, so it's a different cosmological worldview, you can put it.
What is it that you do think?
Okay, that we don't think that the Earth is the universe or reality is a giant fucking space vacuum with all the planets thousands of trillions of miles away from each other, right? Spinning around each other, all that crap. We don't believe in any of that crap. And the reason being is because, like, typically if you see that, it's portrayed, right? So you've seen pictures of the solar system, right? They're all portrayed from like this third person point of view. Obviously, you've never had that point of view.
No, I have not.
Okay, neither does anybody else. That's the
I
thing.
sure hope no one has. That'd be a little
concerning.
concerning.
Yeah, no one's actually had that third person point of view.
Yeah.
All we have is from like our point of view, our first person point of view.
Can I ask a question?
I guess I feel like third person points of view makes sense for mapper depictions, though.
Can I ask what he means by third person point of view? Like,
I think he means like that top down sort of
external. Technically, it's called an orthographic view.
If I put a Bandicam above my head, is that not considered third person? And I watch that camera. Is that?
Yeah, we don't need this kind of commentary.
No.
Is that not what he's referencing? Or
no, if you can't figure it out, just shut yourself up, man, and listen.
Okay, fuck you, dude.
Holy shit!
Are you guys insane for the road?
He went straight for the kill.
Well, that escalated quickly.
I feel like the sort of top-down view makes sense, though, from a map-wise perspective, because it's sort of like it's a map. You can't really fit in a depiction of a large region unless you have like a third-person point of view. Like if you have a map of just the United States, for example, it's that same top-down. I mean, not at the same scale, but
yeah. I understand why they exist, man. I'm not like completely fucking damn. I know why we have orthographic points of view. We use them in engineering drawings, blueprints, things like that. But this is a different issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to. You can actually theoretically take a third-person point of view of North America, right?
Yes.
Or your house, or your state, or Lake Titicaca. Like, we can take third-person points of view of that and verify that whatever we drew on the map is actually correct. We can't verify whether the Earth is orbiting the sun in a solar system because nobody's ever actually observed an orbit. And this might come as a shock, and it often is that in reality, no one's actually ever observed an orbit in nature from an external third-person point of view. People have constructed a model in which, from where they're looking, right from their first-person point of view, they say, hey, from this third-person point of view, we can construct a model in which, from our viewpoint, it'll look like this.
Yes.
right? So it's
Yeah.
all constructed from a first-person point of view. So astronomy assumes that you're a point at the origin of coordinates, looking outward into a sphere of infinite radius. So this idea, so there's more ideas that go along with it, that the Earth has no unique, is not unique, right? Has no preferred place in the universe. It's just like everything else. This is called the Copernican principle. So this
Yeah.
is philosophical. It has nothing to do with science or anything like that, right? So
Yeah.
you have these philosophical presuppositions from which the entire idea of a globe is created from, right? So that's what most people don't realize, that they have these things built in, like these assumptions, like, hey, if you, I've had hundreds of times said to me, well, if the Earth is round, why are the other planets round? I go, hey, the Earth isn't a planet, and they'll go, well, then what is it? Right? Because in their mind, it has to be like everything else.
Are you
Because
being
it's
for
not
real right now?
unique.
Or are you fucking
It
joking?
can't be. It
But
can't
why
be.
does the
Okay,
Earth have to be
okay,
unique?
hold on. Let me finish my sentence. It can't be unique in the Copernican principle. So their presupposition of how the reality works is that Earth is not unique.
Mm-hmm.
So that's because it's the logical fallacy. If you go, hey, planets are round, why isn't the Earth round? They don't even realize that that's a logical fallacy because they have a presupposition that everything is the same.
Basically, what I was wondering is, do you guys have a belief on what you think, whatever we want to categorize what we're on Earth, or if we don't believe it's a planet, do you guys have a category that you think it falls under other than a planet?
It's flat.
Yeah.
Earth. It's not in a category.
Okay,
That's what I'm
so
telling you. It's unique.
is it like
Right?
a
If it's
land
unique,
mass?
if it's
Yeah.
unique, it can't have a category. It's unique.
Okay.
There's nothing like that, right?
So it's like the only, well,
Yes, Earth has
the only
land
thing that
and
exists in that sense.
Yeah.
You guys feel that? Okay. What are your thoughts on satellite imagery? Like, how does that come into play here? Do you think it is real and it doesn't portray a big enough image? Do you think it's like fake? Like, what's the belief on satellite imagery?
Well, they display. I mean, it depends on the particular image, but
yeah,
satellite imagery itself, fundamentally, it's untestable and can only be believed, right? And the only possible way to test it is, hey, this image is showing me something of the Earth. I can go on Earth to that place it took a picture of and see if the Earth is actually like that.
Yes.
Okay, that's all we can do. So if a satellite takes a picture of a curving ocean and the ocean's not curving, we can say that all the satellite photos that show that can't be real, right?
Yeah.
So just like if someone took a picture of like the Empire State Building on top of, 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania, and then I go there and there's no Empire State Building there, I can say all those images are fake. I don't need to prove how they were fake, who faked them, what they did, or any conspiracy. There's no fucking building there, right? I don't need to do anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so this is the same thing. Like all these pictures that they show us, there's no way we can test them. We have no reference from which even to compare them to. I've never seen the Earth from that point of view. So how can I even evaluate the image? Is this a real picture of the Earth? How the hell am I going to know? I've never seen the Earth from that point of view. So it's like some other object, like say a picnic table. I've seen a picnic table. I can tell if it's a fake picnic table picture because I can compare it to something I've seen before. But I've never seen the Earth. All I can do is compare it to other images people said were of the Earth that I can't evaluate, right? So that's kind of like the position we are with space pictures. They're in the realm of Bigfoot pictures.
Not to mention, there's supposed to be 19,000 satellites or something, and none of them ever fall out of orbit,
lots of satellites.
become defective and fall crashing down and stuff like that. Like, how come we don't ever see them crashing into each other? No, anything like that. There's nothing. There's no satellites ever falling down to Earth or what.
Dude, you want to make your computer crash? Go to the website called Stuff in Space. It just shows you all the satellites that are supposed to be in orbit. It'll make your computer frickin' just bog to 1 frame a second. That's how many there's supposed to be. Something like 40,000 or some ridiculous number.
So is it sort of the unknown of that is the basis of not believing that Earth is round? The inability. It's the inability.
No, it's not really that it's unknown. It's that type of evidence is useless.
Okay.
Okay, so
Would
even if you
you-
went, like, say you said, hey, I want to go to court and I'm going to sue somebody
Yeah.
because of satellite image, and they bring in the satellite image, say, hey, look, here's the satellite image, Earth's a ball. That
Yeah.
wouldn't be admissible evidence because you would need to bring in the person that took the picture.
Yes.
Okay, so that person could testify that they took that picture, and that
Mhm.
would be evidence. But just like anybody can put anything on the internet, right? Like,
I would
or
say
any
that
other
is
place,
true
right?
now, but I feel like that was a lot less true originally. Like right now,
For the
at the
government?
stage of the internet we're in, you can pretty much fake anything. But years
Oh, they can
ago,
fake anything.
it was a lot harder to do things like that. For
Uh,
example,
You know when the hey, you know
That's
when
why
the
the moon landing
first,
looks so fake.
you know-
we're not getting into the moon landing, are we? Oh
okay,
boy.
no, we're not. So you know when the first fake image was ever made?
I'm
First fake
guessing
image?
19. I have no idea. Random guess.
Wrong century, dude. 18.
18. Ho ho.
18.
I didn't know that.
1841.
dun, dun,
So they've
dun,
been
dun.
faking photographs since they invented photography.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Abraham. There's even a fake photo of Abraham Lincoln that they printed in newspapers.
I have a question. If
So
you
hold on. Before we move
sorry.
on,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
easy to fake imagery. It's nothing. It's super easy. And so here's a
Okay.
trick. If you ever look up hyper realistic painting.
Yeah.
So people can paint so good that is photorealistic. So you could take a painting
That's a good point. I like that.
and take a photograph of it, and it will be a real photo. It just won't be a real photo of what they're saying they're taking a photo of, right? It's a painting of that, right? So there's
Yes.
one of Morgan Freeman, right? So they
Yeah.
painted Morgan Freeman, and then they took a photo of the picture of the
Of
painting.
the painting
But
that's
but the
hyper-realistic.
photo looks like a photograph of Morgan Freeman, but it's
Yeah.
not a photograph. So this
No,
is the
that's
way
how-
they used to do it because we actually know, we bring up the moon landing, that they made like a freaking like a 20-foot fucking moon that artists painted. And they made simulations of little cameras flying by it.
Every
But I don't want to get into the
greater.
moon landing because that's a whole rabbit hole. That's too easy to prove. That's a whole other topic.
Do you
I'm
think
just saying, as evidence,
Yeah.
it's too inferential. We have to rely on, to trust people and do all sorts of other things. Right?
so? There'd have to be
Why
other
go through all
supporting
that?
evidence.
But we don't. Yeah, why even go through that when we can just test the Earth itself? It's right here. I'm right here on the Earth, right? I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to trust anybody.
So do you believe there is there's been tests that prove there is a curvature on the Earth. Do you believe it's a
Which test?
curved land? Let me find it. Hold on.
Yeah.
I do not have it off the top of my head. Give me a moment.
So it's okay, dude. We've done this lots of times, man.
All right.
You're probably like maybe the 20,000th person I'm talking.
Yeah.
If, theoretically speaking, you could go up in a spaceship, orbit the Earth, if that happened, would you believe it since you saw it personally with your eyes?
There'd be nothing to believe.
There'd be nothing to believe?
I would know it, right?
Yes. You'd know.
Then,
Okay.
like that's
That's fair.
not even a
Yeah.
question, quite honestly.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
curvature?
we've actually, like, we don't just like, hey, we looked at the Earth and it looks flat, therefore the Earth is flat. It's not like that, right? Looking
Mhm.
flat is, hey, that's like your first impression. That doesn't mean it is flat. But
Yeah.
the thing is, if someone says, hey, your first impression is wrong, it's actually a giant ball too big to see, the burden of proof is on them to demonstrate that that's an optical illusion. It's not on
That's
me.
a fair statement, yeah.
But we've gone farther than that, and we've actually tested and measured it using lasers and infrared and mirrors and all sorts of shit, right? So we know from tests that it's not just an optical illusion.
Yeah.
So I actually seen one that someone did. So some guy, he took his rifle, his scope.
Yeah.
Okay. He put it on a transit, which is basically like it goes to a theodolite, but he attached his rifle scope to it instead of the theodolite because the rifle
Yeah.
scope he's got like 30 times zoom on it.
Yeah.
So he's got a crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
And he took it, and he's at the beach, and he spins it. He knows how high the scope is. It's 5 feet. He rotates it right 5 miles away. Boom, hits the person right dead in the chest. 5 feet off the water. Spins it some more, hits another person that's even farther away. Boom, 5 feet in the chest, 5 feet in the chest, 5 feet in the chest. All these people, all along this long ass beach. I think it was Vanderbilt Beach or some shit like this. The point is, at 5 miles away, there's supposed to be like 14 feet of drop.
Yeah.
Did you know that those are like the dimensions they claim?
Well,
the
I
Earth
mean,
is?
I didn't know the numbers, but I get what you're referencing there.
So it's way more than what people think. So people think the Earth is really big and there wouldn't be that much drop. No, it's actually a lot of drop. So in 6 miles, it's supposed to be 6 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, in 3 miles, it's supposed to be 6 feet. My mistake.
Okay.
In 10 miles, it's supposed to be 66 feet. So that's a 6-story building.
Yeah.
Right? So if you had so it gets worse because it's exponential.
Yeah.
At 20 miles, it's 420 feet. Or at 30 miles, it's 420. That's right. I've actually personally myself watched the boat 30 miles away. And I know because they have this thing called marinetracking.com where you can track the boat. So I knew where the boat was. And I watched it sail to where it was. It sounded like it's just some random boat out in the ocean. I watched it sail for 3.5 hours from out of Boston Harbor out into the ocean, waiting for it to disappear over the curve of the earth. And it never did.
And it never did? Okay.
And it never did. And then I went, after watching it for 3.5 hours, I went on top of a 100-foot parking garage to make sure it was the same boat. And I could still see the boat, and it was still the same boat out there. So, and the first observation was from 15 feet above sea level. So the point is that ship should have been
under
400 feet under the curve. Yeah, under the horizon. Yeah, 400 feet. Not like a little bit, like a 42-story building under the curve. See, these observations we made, they're not it's not like, oh, it could be, and it's close.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these are way off. 10 times off, 2 orders of magnitude off. And obviously, 100 times off is crazy, right?
Yeah,
so your prediction
it's a
is
difference.
5. Yeah, it's a huge difference. You thought you had $1 in your bank account and there's a penny, right? You're fuck, dude. You're shit. Oh, it's way off.
Shit, I'm dead broke.
So it's and then we have to take these observations that people made themselves, and then someone comes in like you, no offense, and you're like, yeah, what about these pictures some stranger said they took from space? Oh yeah, just all my experience for these strangers fucking, show me the Bigfoot pictures next, the ghost pictures and all that shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's another thing, right? So ISS, for instance, ISS would only see 3% of the Earth if you do the math. Okay, they're barely relatively to how big they say the Earth is. So 3% of the Earth, they shouldn't see any curvature of the horizon. All the images that they show from ISS show curvature of the horizon. But if you go to the Chinese website and with their space station, which is something like 23 kilometers lower than the ISS, all their imagery shows a flat Earth. So it's what are the probability that the Chinese can just do math and the NASA people can't do math? And so they did the math and they said no curve from here. So when they made their freaking CGI bullshit or whatever they're using, they actually depicted it correctly, and NASA's been depicting it wrong the whole time because NASA, unlike the Chinese space programs, they rely on public funding. The Chinese government is just the money's going here, whether you like it or not. But here they have to convince people, and what's better to convince people? Is show a ball Earth. Just show every image you got to show a ball Earth. But then when you the interviews with the astronauts, they're Chris Hadfield said the Earth looks flat and beautiful. Yeah, that's what he said. He went on Good Morning America, and they were interviewing. He says the Earth looks flat and beautiful.
Oh.
Okay, why
you can draw a circle in Blender and just zoom into 3% of it and compare that with the ISS.
Oh.
Well, I mean, when I say 3% of the Earth, like the entire circle of the horizon, that would be 3% of the surface area of the Earth. This whole circle, not the 3%. The 3% would be like, fuck, dude, that would be, who knows, dude, 100 miles, 200 miles,
Couple
something.
trees, some bushes, some
If you have any
trails.
questions, yeah. So, like, hopefully that gave you a rundown of kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
where we're
that's
at,
sort of
and
helped
how
me
we evaluate
understand
evidence. We're not,
how you see it.
like, we're not, and we're trying to stick with what do we know, not with like not what might be true. Yeah, maybe the Earth's a globe, maybe, but I don't know the Earth's a globe, and we've asked lots of people, how do you know the Earth's a globe? And at first they think they know, but when they actually start thinking about it, they don't actually know it, right? They believe it, which is fine, but they don't actually know it, right? And they'll say,
a fair statement.
Yeah, and they'll say something like, well, the astronauts, they seen it from space. Well, that would be them knowing it, not you knowing it, right? That would be their knowledge, not your knowledge, right? So how do you know? Like, that's the big question. And like, we're trying to figure out, what do we actually know, like, as human beings? Because we think at least me personally, I think we've got like very far away from trying to figure out what can we say that's through 100% for sure. And we've gotten lost in maybes. And now we have so many maybes that nobody's like, and people are trying to turn the maybes into we know, right? So it's not maybe, it's we know, right? It's not like, because if you took all the maybes, if you said, oh shit, everything's a maybe, that means you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Right? 5 maybes don't make a I know. No matter how many you can sum all the maybes you want. Like, you're never going to get to I know with maybes. But we have lots of maybes, and what that people think are science and shit like that, dude. It's like science. The idea of science is a cult at this point. It's way beyond fucking what's reasonable.
I would say I feel like people would probably see it that way because they see astronauts as profession, which it is, I guess you can say. Being an astronaut's a profession in the same way that being a doctor is a profession. So a doctor can tell someone, you have blank. I'm not saying this is
no. Being an astronaut is more like, hold on. That's actually not a very good analogy, because being an astronaut is so rare that it's more like being in the Hall of Fame in the NBA.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
Only 600 people claim to have been to space over 80 years. Think about that. Over a period of 80 years. It's not like yeah, very few. And like all humanity, 9 billion people are going to go, these 600 people are going to tell us what the Earth is, dude. That's crazy to me. To me, that's just crazy. Maybe it's just me. Like, everybody else is going to, like, see these 600 people? Yeah, what they said. Fuck that shit. I'm not doing that, dude.
Fuck that shit.
So you said you had tests that measured the Earth, right? Like scientific tests? Do you know any?
I can find one. So I was referencing the lasers. You brought that up. The use of lasers is probably, to my knowledge, I can't say I personally, I can say I believe the Earth is round. I can't say I know the Earth is round because I've been to space. That's a reasonable argument that you made, where people believe that the Earth is round, but they can't know for sure based on personal observation. I get that. I can't say I've been up in space and looked down and seen a round Earth, but I believe the Earth is round. But
so think about this. People go, why would they lie? Now, given what you just said, and the amount of people, how small the amount of people is that would know the Earth is round.
Yeah.
It's very small people. Very small. Who the fuck's lying? Nobody knows anything. Right? You got a bunch of believers saying the Earth is round. They're not lying. They're telling the absolute truth. They believe that shit. So, like, you know what I mean? It's like that whole idea that it would take some gigantic fucking conspiracy of like millions of people all lying on, like, they don't know anything, dude. They never been on like outer as you think. You think to prove it, you'd have to go to outer space and look at the Earth. Yeah, maybe that'll prove it, but like that's a very small group of people.
Yeah. Oh.
At least you're being honest with yourself. You
Friend
don't
just
seem
called
like
me
you're.
and wants to play a game with me, so I shall be going. But it was nice to hear about the.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. We usually don't get that. We usually get people that are very emotional about this topic.
Emotional.
Obviously, you heard the other dude, right? He was spazzing out, right? So
he was not happy. He was not happy.
Yeah, it really because there's a lot of eggs in that basket. Let's put it that way. And like hearing the opposite, it rubs them the wrong way, to say the least.
All right.
But
I shall see you around. Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. Peace.
Okay. But you couldn't have 10 to the negative 17 torque inside the dome, right?
No, you can't.
Nobody
even
knows.
10 to the negative 17 torque with the vacuum chamber.
Yeah. Well, it's
10 to
definitely
the
not
negative.
in the dome.
10, hold on. The highest vacuum ever achieved is 10 to the negative 9.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds about right.
And that takes 2 vacuum chambers. It's a vacuum chamber inside of a vacuum chamber.
With 14-foot thick concrete walls and all kinds of shit. It's just not.
Yeah.
No, that's only 10 to the negative 6, dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's 10 to the negative 5 or 6.
All of those were leaking, by the way.
Right.
Doesn't matter how thick the concrete is, they're all leaking.
But yeah, because we can see that there's a pressure gradient, right? So at some point you get down to 0.001 psi, right? At what point does it no longer become possible, and there has to be a container to keep that in because the vacuum would suck it out?
At some point,
it would be instantaneous if there was no container.
Where we don't know.
Say that again.
We don't know where. We
Okay.
can't.
Well, even in your paradigm, dude, you think the vacuum, like absolute vacuum, doesn't exist, right? So even in your paradigm, it has to taper off to not zero at some point. So the idea that it's just going to taper off. Hold on. The idea that it's going to taper off continuously, eventually, in some linear relationship or even a non-linear relationship, you don't even believe that. But for some reason, like that's an argument that, there's a pressure gradient, so it goes down. It just has to keep going down forever and ever. No, it doesn't, because you don't believe that either.
Yeah, no, I think there is pressure in space. Absolutely, it's just very, very, very low.
But it's not zero.
I also don't think
why it is zero. But why does it? Listen, it gets even worse for you.
That negative can't work. The microstates are off by just a ginormous number. We would have to be
even worse.
The positive 17.
But it gets even worse because your volume is increasing, so the pressure should be going down even more. Right? You think the universe is accelerating expansion, so that means the pressure everywhere should be going down all the time.
Sorry, why?
The pressure everywhere, if the universe is expanding, then the pressure everywhere should go down all the time because the volume is increasing in size.
There are local forces.
Next person that talks over me is going to get muted, dude. This is an audio nightmare. Not you, McFarlane or McFingland or whatever your fucking name is. So, listen, what you're getting confused about is, so there's open systems, closed systems, but there's also static systems and dynamic systems. The Earth is a closed dynamic system. Okay, so you can have pressure gradients, you can have anything like that. You can't have a dynamic open system with a pressure gradient for very long. You might be able to have it temporarily, but eventually it's not going to stay that way.
Okay. Yeah, I got a question about that. Do you mind if I take a second to ask it?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. So, from what I'm getting, let me know if I'm wrong. What I'm getting from you guys is gas is created at the ground level, and that's what creates the pressure gradient. If that was the case, I would think that if this is a closed system, that overall pressure would increase over time so that, I don't know, 200, 5,000 years, the PSI that we're feeling at the water at zero elevation would have gone from 14 PSI up to some number higher. Is that
No. So yeah. So I understand what you're saying. I understand the confusion. So the system tries to reach thermodynamic equilibrium.
Sure.
So as the system tries to reach thermodynamic equilibrium, different things happen. For example, when you when you heat up water, say, right, if there's any dissolved CO2 in it, it'll outgas. But then if you heat it up a little more and the CO2 in the air is a little bit warmer, right, the water will absorb the CO2 back into it, right? So this system's always trying to find this state of equilibrium, right? One side will get on balance, but the other side, the process will reverse. Right, so you think the pressure would go up and up and up, but there'll be some other natural phenomenon that'll bring the pressure back down. Because if the pressure goes up, right, then things like the gases that were freely in the air will dissolve back into solids.
Sure.
So the solids are full of dissolved gases. It's not like they're not just like, you know. I know we get the idea. Listen, a block of iron, and but it's not 100% iron. It's iron with a bunch of dissolved gases in it.
Yeah, water has dissolved
The elements.
oxygen in it. Sure.
Well, whatever's in the air, right? It just dissolves it. It'll be like in between the what do you call it? The crystalline metallic structure of the iron. There'll be little what do they call it? There'll be vacancies. So this is a thing we actually do in technology to it's like called they intentionally make nitrogen vacancies in diamond because they can do all sorts of like quantum experiments with it. So this is like a known thing. Like we actually make use of it technologically for experimentation. I don't think there's any practical industrial use at this point.
Sure. So let me know if I'm understanding this wrong, but you think the gas is both released from the ground, ocean, whatever, the surface.
Chemical processes, right? So this is like, I'll give you a little background. It's really funny because I was actually listening to a live stream. I was actually talking about this exact same thing. So there's Chinese used to think that like their ancient thing was that there's air, water, or air, that there's like a ground air, so that the earth breathes in a way. So a few times a day, the air, like there's a push of gas that comes out of the ground, as if the earth is breathing. And this has been like observationally validated to a degree, right? So these Chinese scientists went out and they tried to measure it and quantify it, and they actually did in the Gobi Desert. So they went to the Gobi Desert because the Gobi Desert's the driest desert on Earth. You don't have like any weird things happening like underwater rivers or frickin' plant life or anything like that, where you're just straight measuring, the conditions. So the point is that air gases diffuse from the ground. They're also created by biochemical processes of plants, decomposing matter, sloshing oceans around, the dissolving of gases into the ocean, the outgassing of gases out of the ocean, right? So it's a complex physical process. In that system, all those systems are trying to reach a state of equilibrium, but it never will, because then we'd all die.
Sure, yeah, like the energy from the sun is inducing an disequilibrium in the system, something like that.
Say that again.
So it's like producing a disequilibrium in energy throughout the system, which is being dissipated by gas coming into and out of the Earth. Is that a fair way of saying it?
So does what Indio said, because I've heard you say, yeah, sure, an agreement at least 2 times. Now that you're in agreement, so you this was kind of a red herring, but gas pressure requiring containment. You're good on that?
I have one more follow-up question, if you don't mind.
Well, Indio's here. Sure.
Cool, I appreciate it. So, if the Earth is both absorbing and dissipating gases, I'm assuming there's some kind of cycles. It's not always even how much, but over time, it would somewhat average out. Wouldn't that mean that the amount of gas at ocean level, at sea level, would be about the same? Or maybe there would be times
So you don't agree with what he did.
No, I'm when I say, I'm sorry.
He just explained. That's what I mean. Like, that's why I asked you if you agreed with him, because then you wouldn't ask that question. I don't.
Well, pressure changes all the time. We have barometers, right? Like pressure changes all the time, weather changes all the time, weather patterns change all the time. Like the weather, this is basically the weather when you think about it. And the weather is always, like I said, it's trying to reach a state of thermodynamic equilibrium. And it ain't never going to happen unless the sun disappears.
Agreed.
Yeah, we'll have bigger problems on Earth if the sun disappeared.
Yeah, like fucking, it would suck, dude.
Well, yeah, it'd be nighttime all the time for one.
Yeah, and fuck your solar panels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There goes the green energy freaking crew. They're right out there. So I posted in the chat. Hold on, just 1 second. I want this guy McFinlan. If you look in the chat, the live stream chat, I posted the citation: characteristics and mechanisms of the formation of Earth air pulsation in extremely arid areas from the Journal of Geophysical Research, Atmospheres. So, if you want, you can look this up. You can just go on Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. You pretty much probably be able to find it on there. No guarantees. So I'm just saying, I'm not pulling shit out my ass. I didn't invent this shit. It exists. We've quantified it to some degree. But because it comes from Chinese mythology, it's kind of hard to get funding when you're like, hey, why are you researching this? Oh, it's some ancient Chinese myth. Oh, no, we're not paying for that.
And I'm sorry, I can't see like who's speaking when, but I did want to address. I didn't want to seem disingenuous in this conversation. When I was saying, yeah, I understand what you're. Yes, or I understand. I wasn't trying to say that I agree with what you're stating. I'm saying that I understand what you're stating, and I understand the logic that you have behind it. So I apologize if it sounded like I was
something else you probably don't know is, so something you don't know, we model gas behavior using what's called the kinetic theory of gases. There's no gravity in that theory. There's no G. There's none of that shit.
That's what you use to model the.
That's what science, mainstream science, they use the kinetic theory of gases. And the kinetic theory of gases doesn't have gravity in it. None of that shit. Doesn't say, hey, we're going to model the gas with gravity. There is no thermodynamic gravitational theory. There's no gravitational thermodynamic theory. There's nothing behind it. It's just like something people say. Oh, what's holding the air in? Oh, gravity is. That's as simple as it makes sense to me, so it must be true. But there's actually no evidence for that, right? And if you actually did the experiment, so say you did this experiment, where's gravity strongest? On the surface of the Earth. So let's do this experiment. We'll take a vacuum chamber and we'll evacuate. We'll evacuate all the air, and then we're gonna shoot a little air back in and see if the air sinks to the bottom, held away from the vacuum by gravity. And that won't happen. The gases will distribute equally throughout the entire volume. They don't sink to the bottom because of gravity.
Isn't there
Well, I
still
mean,
pressure gradient?
there would be a pressure gradient if you listen. Yeah, if you heated up the vacuum chamber.
Well, even without heating it up, wouldn't there be a pressure gradient?
No, dude.
It would be uniform temperature.
It would be uniform temperature, volume, and pressure throughout the entire. Say it's a vertical cylinder, 100 feet tall. If you measured anywhere within that cylinder, you would register the same pressure.
So if you were shown a tall cylinder, sealed, completely sealed, with gas in it, all the same temperature, but the pressure was not uniform, would you find that concerning?
It would
Why
be
would I
uniform.
find it concerning? Yeah, I don't deny empirical evidence, dude. I deny stories that have no empirical evidence. So you think if you made a vacuum chamber, you'd shoot air into it and all the air would sink to the bottom of the vacuum chamber?
No, but I would think there would still be a pressure gradient from top to bottom, even if the container was uniform in temperature.
Why would you think that?
Because I think the downward acceleration that affects us also affects the air molecules.
Why?
It seems that all matter is affected by this downward acceleration. I would have no reason to think that.
Except for gas. Look, you've never saw gas fall down.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm saying you've never seen gas fall down. Like I don't know why you're saying that. Like,
I mean, gas is a really hard thing to say. I mean, I've seen dry ice, but I guess that's not what you're talking about.
yeah, but it don't fall down. And what you would see fall down in the case of dry ice is that the coldness of the CO2 would cause the water vapor to nucleate, and then the water vapor, which is actually little water particles that are water, they'd fall down.
No,
water vapor is not steam; it's water particles. They're in minute fucking actual liquid water.
Yeah. There's a difference between water vapor and liquid water aerosolized. I agree with that. But so that's an excellent example, though. Do you agree that water can be dissolved in air, where it is an air molecule in the air? It's a gas.
Yes, it's called water vapor.
Yeah.
And clouds being 30,000. Hold on, stop. The clouds being 30,000 feet in the air is evidence that the gas isn't held down, because it can't be held down and go up simultaneously. You have a contradiction in your idea here. Now, you have a non-demonstrative concept. We have demonstration. We have Brownian motion that tells us that it's pushing out equally within that system of uniform temperature. We have Charles' law to show that it would take a temperature change to show a pressure change within a system. And that gas would expand with temperature, and that it can be measured and demonstrated. You have an imagination, non-demonstrative, that doesn't correlate to anything that can be even referenced as an effect that is anything to do with. It's unreal. It's your imagination. It's your cognitive dissonance.
That's why. Listen, that's why I asked him, Lumpy. That's why I asked him. I'm like, why does he think that? I was looking I'm probing for. There must be some experience you had that's led you to believe this, but I don't think there is. I think you just heard the story of gravity. Everything falls because of gravity, and that's just the gospel truth, and that's that. even though you have no objective empirical evidence that that's actually a fact when it applies to gas. You just think that's the case. You think that gas falls in a vacuum chamber for some reason. It's ridiculous, dude.
I'm not really interested.
Think there's more. You think when you have your tire and you pressurize your tire, there's more gas at the bottom of the tire than the top?
Very, like, almost undetectable because, I can't get 3 orders magnitude PSI differential on a very crude PSI measure that I have for my tire. But yes.
Why do you think that? That's what I'm asking you. Why would you think that other than some theoretical notion?
Let's just say it's intuitive. Intuitive to me.
Intuitive? I don't think so, man.
I mean,
certainly it's not that.
I'm willing to be honest about that. But I'm kind of curious because do you agree there is some kind of downward acceleration? There's something holding water onto the surface of the Earth, right?
Yeah, things fall. That's not controversial.
Yeah, water is denser than gas. Water is denser than gas.
Things fall, and why they fall is mysterious. Nobody knows. Nobody can do an experiment to figure out why. You can go on NASA's website and they'll even say, "What's gravity?" Their answer: we don't know.
Well, but you're saying that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Because I'm saying no one knows why things fall. That's what I'm saying. Nobody knows why things fall. Nobody.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's reaching equilibrium within a displacement system. A displacement-based system, just reaching equilibrium. That's I don't know if that'd be almost descriptive, but more like.
Well, the point is, can you do an actual experiment to figure out the cause? So you got your observed natural phenomenon, something falls.
Well,
okay. What's your hypothesis? Why does that thing fall? Like, hold on, dude. What's your independent variable to figure out the cause?
Well, the density of the medium.
So density is a cause?
No, if I can change the density of the medium, the vector of the item, I understand that. You have a correlation. You don't have a cause. So well, it's causing it to up or down, right?
No, density isn't a proper independent variable. Density doesn't cause things.
Well,
it's a state of the matter.
It's kind of a language thing. Because if it is causing it, it can't be not causing it, right?
Okay. I would say that there is some undiscovered thing, right, that causes it. That's related to density. I don't know what it would be. But the thing is, density can't be the cause because density is just a state of matter.
Well,
right? You can't cause things.
Well, no, hold on. But if it is, why isn't it?
Because it's just a state of matter. How can the arrangement of things relative to geometrical arrangement of things cause things?
Well, by demonstration, you just have to agree that it by language. That's kind of the conclusion I came to.
No, I would say, and my language is, and this is the correct language, is that it correlates. That you can correlate things moving up and down with relative density, but you can't determine, but that can't actually be a causal mechanism because it's not a mechanism.
Hold on. No. I don't want to argue with a flat earther about in any little detail like this.
It's not a little detail.
Well,
really?
Well, I don't know. I just, it's kind of like if you're watching it happen, so that it could be described as or defined as correlative or causative.
Well, think about it like this: you take the egg in the water, right, and then the egg sinks, and then you add salt.
Yeah.
What caused the egg to rise, dude? The salt?
Because the density of the medium changed.
But that's not what you altered. You altered the salinity of the water. Hold on. You
Okay,
altered the
go ahead.
salinity of the water. You altered the salinity of the water.
Yeah, add
It just
density
happens to
to water.
correlate with density. Yeah, but that's just a property. It's correlating with density. But what you actually did in the experiment was you changed the salinity of the water.
Well, yeah, but
Right?
it changes the density of the water. It causes that change. Oh, well,
I
then I guess
understand
if
that, but
cause
you
the change
understand
of
that, but it's a
density, all you are doing is
correlation.
causing the change of density. Okay.
Oh.
All right, now I start hearing you. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm sorry, I'm difficult. I just
No,
can't
it's
agree
fine.
with you. I just can't.
I'm only hitting myself in the head and pulling my hair out. It's fine. No, the point is that like there actually is no experiment, right? So like we can't isolate the independent variable. Nobody's come up with it yet. Maybe it's probably something no one's ever thought of. It's fucking who knows, dude.
You're right. You got it. You're right. I've been thinking of it probably wrong because when I'm causing the change of the density, that's what I'm causing.
It's an unsolved
So
problem.
it's
Let's put it
secondary
that
to
way.
that. You're right. Okay. All right. I can learn. I'm a knucklehead, but
Well, I mean, dude, people have been beating their head on the gravity thing forever, dude. Like, I don't think we'll solve it on Discord. Not today, at least.
I'm thick a little. Sorry.
It's a good piece of misdirection. Are you understanding, McFinglin? Are you following?
Hear that? No. Yeah. So no, it wasn't really misdirection. So it illustrates the point. The point is things fall. Nobody denies that. When you start saying, "Oh, why did things fall?" Well, mass attracting mass causes that. What does that even mean? What's mass? Fucking poorly defined fucking concept. It's not a thing. It's property matter. Just its mere existence causes things to fall. It's freaking crazy. And when you do the experiment, I'll take a mass and then alter the mass. It doesn't fall faster. It falls at the same rate. So you got that problem. Now your independent variable doesn't change. Has no effect on the effect you're trying to observe. So that can't be the cause. You've actually just eliminated mass as a cause just by dropping some. So this is the problem. The entire gravity as a concept is so what typically happens is people conflate two things. They conflate mass attracting mass with things falling. There's no justification into linking those things. Newton came up with mass attracting mass from Kepler's planetary laws, right? You notice something about elliptical orbits, that the force that falls from Earth to the square of the distance. And he just simply asserted maybe that's why these things fall. But then he backed away from that and wanted nobody to frickin' ascribe gravity to him. That's his own words. So this is like people in academia that actually analyze like the foundations of science from the philosophy of science point of view. They know these problems. But who don't know these problems are dumbass science communicators like Brian Cox, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michelle Thaler, retards that come in this fucking server. Not you specifically, but they don't know that the gravity as a concept is shit. They conflate the cause.
Did you remember?
They conflate the cause with the effect. Okay. They say okay.
You remember?
Prove gravity to me. Drop
I'm
something. Well, that's the effect. I want to know what causes it. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you remember that video? That debate that Whitson and Kai had with that woman and that guy. I mean, there's but so many 2-on-2s that went on. So I know you remember. And the woman,
yeah, I know what you're talking
was
about.
And she was some sort of physicist or something. And her answers were so genuine. I was like, holy shit. Because she was prefacing the things that she was talking about with gravity and the Earth or the moon or something. Because it was I forget exactly what it was, but she basically said, I know what I'm saying sounds crazy. You can believe it or not. See, that's not like the religitard, zealot Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world that tell you what it is and you have to believe it.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends. So-called scientists and academics are just like everybody else, right? You'll have one end of the spectrum of like they think everything they're geniuses, and that like because I have a PhD in biology, I'm also an expert on fucking the military science and any other fucking thing because I'm fucking super smart and I fucking have a degree, so obviously I'm good at everything. And then, but there's the other side, right? That of people that like they got a PhD and maybe they're expert in their field, but they know that all this stuff has like from a philosophical, logical point of view, that it's all on shaky foundation, and we're really just doing the best we can because we're really just like blindfolded and stabbing in the dark as shit. I mean, you have both ends, right? So we get the weirdos in here. We get the zealots. So here's a question no Glover can answer. If gravity causes gas pressure, how come the pressure don't follow the inverse square law? Or the density of the air? Why doesn't that follow the inverse square law?
I would think that it would be a more complicated system, but I don't know.
Yes, it's a more complicated system. Exactly. It's totally more complicated. But when they argue for it, they just say the simplified thing. Gravity just does whatever, right? And then when we just say, hey, it's dynamic, it's way more complex than that, they act like we're just making shit up.
It's just gravity of the gaps. That's all it is. Wherever there's a gap, they shove gravity in it. That's basically what they're doing. And as Indio pointed out, they don't present anything. They don't cite anything. They don't say, oh, here's a paper to look at. So, we can try to understand and get on the same page. Indio's presenting things. He copied this whole thing about, the Gobi Desert. Other people are posting things. Lumpy was talking about Charles Law and all this other stuff, and it just is getting ignored, and that's what's frustrating. That's why Elijah was, trying to bring him back to that point, because you can't have people that are just going to ignore all of this evidence, Hey, Schlitzy.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, man. Got any questions?
No, I'm just listening at the moment, but I will join in.
All right. Ask Indio something. He loves answering questions.
Oh, yeah, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. Yeah, if you got anything to ask Paradaxum, do so, and Schlitzy. We'll do our best. I won't. I'll just pass it off onto one of them lot.
Look, I'll tell you, if we don't know something, I'll straight up tell you we don't know. Like, I'm not afraid of I don't know. I don't feel compelled to have an explanation, some story behind possibly every fucking thing there is. It's unrealistic. I say, hey, what's been demonstrated by experiment, what's been proven, what we have data on. I don't give a shit about the fucking stories. We all know the stories. A bunch of space balls orbiting some other space balls. They're held together by magic rubber bands. Blah blah blah. Yeah, we know the story. Thing is, where's the evidence for any of that shit that we can observe ourselves? And that is notably absent.
What do you think of that, Schlitzy?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of these Globers, they just bring theories dressed up as facts, even though they're theories, and there's not, definitive proof that they will serve it on you like it's, oh, And if you don't understand it, you're stupid.
You're being generous, even calling them theories. I don't even think they're at that level.
I'm too diplomatic.
I think they're at the level of like hypothesis, maybe.
It's not even that. It's a hunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's
do we
not
do?
wives' tale.
Put our coats on and start just making it up as we go along.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to try to hold them to the point, and that's what Elijah was doing before it went on and all over the place. He was just trying to bring them back to somewhere sensible and reason to, build from. And he was unable to do it. He was, disingenuous. He wasn't being honest. He had his own position and he wasn't here to learn. He doesn't care about science or experiments or anything. So.
Yeah, I think when you question them, they kind of flip it to say, well, you explain it or you prove it. And I was thinking, hold on a minute, I ain't asked no question. I've just questioned your belief or what you've just stated, but I haven't made any claims. I ain't suggested anything. I'm just saying that it don't make me make sense of what you just said. And it's always the shift of you explain it. I just don't get it.
And as I say, when he dropped in here, he was claiming the reason there was gas in the upper atmosphere is because it comes from stars and space. And it's just like, what? And then when I asked, does gas is created at ground level, he said some, but not all. And it's like, what? It's
yeah, it's like
very unusual.
Where'd the other gas come from then?
I don't know. I was trying to get to the bottom of it with him because it was just so far out. I was like, but the conversation, went where it went. But I kept trying to bring him back to it because I'm just like, I gotta hear this. I gotta hear what he got this idea about gases coming from, stars in the vacuum of space. This is hilarious.
Maybe he's getting climate change mixed up with how it works.
I don't know, but I was trying to get him to expand on it.
It's just weird. It's only because he's talking to us. But if he was talking to like other Glovers and some other Glover was like, yeah, these gases are all created. He'd be like, yeah, I know. Like the trees create oxygen and then they absorb carbon dioxide, and he'd go through the whole like plant, water, carbon cycle, and like it'd be no problem. But as soon as we say, hey, dude, that's where the gas comes from, it's like, no, everything a flat earther says is wrong. I have to fight with you about something that's obvious.
Yeah, every point is like an uphill battle, and it's just like, oh my goodness.
And they also seem to forget that hot air rises, cold air falls.
Hey, Medina, any questions? Not sure if you can talk. Paradaxim, if you got any questions or thoughts?
Hey, no, I'm just tuning in.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, if you got any ideas and thoughts, direct them to Indio. He loves it.
Cool.
It's more mental health issue almost, like cognitive that creates like this insanity.
Yeah, we get all the fruits coming through here. It's like, there's the mental ward. We're not your counsellors. Get over there. Let's all go to the lobby.
The ballers,
man.
I would just like to add, you should think about our position, like really, really, and then like decide to be frustrated with the people who are obviously lying to you.
Yeah, it's just an unusual sort of position, and interesting to see what he had to say about his imagination land. It was a new chapter to the story I hadn't heard before.
It's a new chapter of a story. It's always a story, isn't it? Stories
Oh, yeah.
of the imagination of the twisted brains. Golly.
You should have control of your mic, Calaman, if you have any questions or would like to talk to Indio about anything.
Hey, I'm gonna fucking ban you. Get you. We need a coin operated Discord. Insert coin for one question.
Hey, Calaman. Yeah, you got your control of your mic?
Yeah, I was just saying I'm working, just listening in while you guys talk.
That's cool. No worries.
Yeah.
Are you working in a university? We want to talk to your professors.
What do you think of the second law of thermodynamics, Calaman? Do you think it's a thing or just something flat earthers make up? Nope, nobody. Medina? Pradaxum? Anything? No, Indio scared him, asking for a few shekels.
Where would I go spend a few shekels? I'm not going there. The unholy land.
Revolving clown door over here.
So these different, like these atmosphere, stratosphere, and all these kind of other spheres, do you believe that they're all true and present as they say that?
I think the ionic, like, I'm going to use the word sphere, but it doesn't mean I think they're spheres.
Yeah.
I think the ionosphere, that layer, I think that exists.
Uh-huh.
The thermosphere, maybe? I don't know. I mean, what they say the properties are, say it's like 4,300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the ISS is supposed to be whipping around in it. How it's not bursting into flame is beyond me. But, so that might exist. So we're supposed to be in what's called the troposphere. Obviously that exists because we're in it. I mean, I guess, man. I don't know.
Yeah, the 13 layers.
They must mix a bit of the truth in with the deception.
D region.
Oh, that's how I feel. That's what I feel.
Yeah, you got the D region, E region, F region, ionosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, mesosphere, all of that kind of stuff. Mesopole. Yeah. But it's just layers of gases basically as it's getting thinner, you know, because it's getting colder, as I understand it.
So it's very like Criterion brought up, when the gas cools, it goes down. It doesn't go down because of gravity, it's because when the gas cools, it condenses, it becomes more dense, and then relative to other air, and then it goes down.
Loses energy.
It just cycles vertically. And like, what was it? nullschool.net, where they had the sim, you could actually look at different elevations, and you can see like different pressures, airflows, you name it. It's like not. It's like I said. Not gonna say it again. It's a dynamic system. There's no rule. Okay, there's no rule that could be applied generally through the whole thing, other than it's a dynamic gradient of a mixture of gases.
that was another thing McGinger kept leaving out, was the fact it was a dynamic system. And again, it's like all this slippery word tricky that they do, and you got to pay real close attention to it, you know. But I did notice that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's obvious, right? If you have a barometer, like, it's obvious, like the lowest ever recorded pressure versus the highest ever recorded pressure. It's almost like twice as much. This is on the surface of the Earth. This isn't way up in the fucking sky. This is on Earth's surface. So even just standing in a place, you're going to see a variation of pressure, temperature, air density, just because it's dynamic and the weather changes because it's trying to reach equilibrium, right? So if you have a hurricane, the shit gets sucked into the middle of the hurricane because in the center of the hurricane is low pressure. Around it is high pressure. It's trying to reach equilibrium. The high pressure is trying to fill in the low pressure.
Exactly. Nice and simple. A 2-year-old could understand it, but again, he didn't want to hear anything you had to say. He just wanted to promulgate, gas go down, go boom boom, and then he brought up Cavendish. Where were you when he brought up Cavendish? I thought you were going to tear into him on that one.
No, I'm glad I didn't hear him bring that up. I mean, I get a laugh, but like, to me, Cavendish and like Foucault's pendulum are like, what did fucking me Morvet call it? He said they're like sacraments or like religious rituals, right? That you do in like university to convince you of these ideas. Right. So like they would, like, back in the Roman times, they would do these like gimmicks. They would take someone and they would stick them in a metal bowl and light a fire underneath, and while they're dying in there, they're making all sorts of sounds. But it would sound like the bull, and then they'd be like, "Look, the bull is stricken. The bull god is speaking to us, right?" And look, it's making sounds, right? To me, it's like one of these gimmicks, you know, talking in tongues or picking up snakes or something like that. It's to convince you, like, it's like a demonstration of like what you're having faith in. Yes, this is actually real.
Yeah.
Look at these balls. They like, I put these balls on a tension wire, and then they bounce back and forth, and then eventually stop.
And according to Peter and Pete, it was all down to temperature, which is why it moved, because it was a cold barn. Well, wasn't he trying to weigh Earth, so he completely fucked that up, right? But secondly, Peter and Pete said in his own notes, he actually talked about how the movement was due to temperature, essentially, because they had a candle or something, and when they moved it, it changed how much this thing rotated. That was according to Peter and Pete and his own documents.
Yeah, but it didn't automatically start. It had to be pushed to start, no?
That's the fuck all pendulum.
No, the thing is, like, you have a torsion wire and you have a bar that goes across, and what'll happen is that the balls hanging from the torsion bar will rotate and then oscillate, so they'll bounce back and forth, right? So, but it's a wire, and how do you know that's even perfectly balanced? Because if there's an imbalance, it's gonna rotate no matter what. So it's like, this is just like, yeah, the torsion, exactly. This is just a gimmick. It's just like a freaking parlor trick.
Yeah, it's you got to look behind the curtain, but it's so simple to kind of break these things down. But obviously, they know the parlor tricks work because they've got believers already. The parlor trick just reinforces the belief, you know.
Yeah, because they already want it anyway. They already want to believe it anyway, right?
Yeah.
They're not looking at it skeptically. So I just posted in the chat. So this is a Cavendish that somebody set up, right? So what they did is they used like a bunch of washers that were glued together, and he oriented them vertically, right, so that the hole was going horizontal, and then he also does it horizontally so that the washers are laid flat and the holes are, vertical. And he gets a different result depending on how the washers are orientated.
Ah.
Plus, I got one with Christmas bulbs, so it should never happen with Christmas bulbs. I got a couple where, there's even one that's on YouTube, man. The dude, like, it was off by something like, I don't remember, like freaking 800% or something, and then of what the value of G was supposed to be, and he was like, this confirms it. Like, bro, it was nowhere even close to the prediction. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, oh, here it is.
There's the one in the vacuum that they tried to make. They gave up and cut it in half in the end, didn't they?
Yeah. I got that one too. I posted them all in the chat. Yeah, so the last one's that one. So this guy is actually, he's a professor at the University of Cambridge. He's a physicist. He's got a PhD. They use not just any old freaking Cavendish. It's one that you buy from like a scientific equipment company, right? For to teach at university. They set it up, dude. It didn't work, and like they had a technician. The technician was so frustrated with it, he ended up sawing it in half. Okay, so it's a parlor trick, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just garbage. And Foucault's pendulum is the same way. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You just keep doing it till it works, dude. That's what you do. That's how these things work. You just keep doing it over and over again till you get the result you want.
It reminds me of that trick they had back in the day where they had a statue, and you pulled on one arm, you got water. You pulled on the other arm, you got wine, and everyone's like, "Oh, magic trick." But it's just basic technology, and that's kind of what's going on here. People haven't got a Scooby-Doo, and they can just pull these things out, and it's like, mic drop, oh, aren't we so clever, and everyone goes back to sleep. But yeah, you pick it apart after 30 seconds, and you're like, what a load of shit. That's their best evidence. My balls on string.
Yeah, and even if, right, even if the contraption did exactly what they said it did, exactly. How do you get from that to that's why things fall? Like, this experiment is not related in any way, shape, or form to a falling object.
Exactly.
Like I set up a Cavendish. I watch the balls freaking do whatever they do, oscillate, whatever. It perfectly matches the prediction at G. Okay, and I go, that's why things fall. That's retarded, dude. It's literally retarded to make that leap of logic. To be like, yeah, I drove off a fucking cliff, and that's why I fell. That's how Cavendish works. That's fucking dumb, dude. It's just dumb. I can't even tell you, I'm gonna say it again. It's dumb. Like, I can't say it enough times how dumb that is to make that leap of logic, dude. They're completely unconnected. Nothing falls in Cavendish. They're unrelated. It's nothing like a falling object.
Yeah, it's in the wrong plane for starters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. How does horizontal movement translate to vertical movement? Like, what are you talking about? It's not rotating at 9.8 meters per second squared, is it? So, what's the logical connection between the Cavendish and a falling object? There isn't one. I've asked many, many Globers, what's the logical connection? Just is. You know how they are. It just is. It's annoying, but when he said that shit last night, that I saw freaking Norway from Denmark, and I shouldn't see it, but I know the moon landing isn't fake, so the Earth's a globe. As soon as he said that, I was like, bro, you drank the Kool-Aid. You're like in Jim Jones' freaking camp in Guyana. You're like, give me Kool-Aid. I want 2 cups of the fucking Kool-Aid. He literally just denied his own experience because he saw some shit on TV.
Yeah.
To me, that's crazy, dude. To me, that's just the next level insane.
Oh, the first thing I ever heard him say was, "We went to the moon."
Yeah, he said it would be impossible to fake it, and then I showed him all the ways that it's possible to fake it, and all the technology. I gave him the names of the technologies that we used to use to frickin' composite film, and it's just crazy, dude. Because he saw a video where some photographer said they couldn't have faked it back then with video. Like, dude,
You
it
can easily fake
wouldn't
it.
even have been a problem. It wouldn't even. It's not even an issue. It's like, look, dude, I know a lot about that, like that shit. My father put up the first cable systems in America. Okay, that even existed in America. I know how all that shit works. I know how video works. I know how fucking all that shit works. All of it, video, film, all that shit. Okay. The idea that they couldn't fake it is just ridiculous to me. It's fucking. You just don't know, like, video and film. It's really simple.
Mm.
Dude, they had VR headsets in 1969. Okay, think about that. Way back in 1969, they had VR headsets. JPL had a computer lab around the same time, late 60s, early 70s. Like, people just aren't aware, right, of like, people just watch movies, they watch, like, why do you like that movie? They're not looking up who the cinematographer is or how they did the special effects. Like, people are fascinated by it now with CGI and shit, but like with Star Wars, people are like, how did they do that? But Star Wars could have actually been in CGI because back in the late 70s, he was shown, George Lucas, a company came to him and said, yes, we can make computer graphics of all your spaceships. This is back in the late 70s. And the people that he rejected it for miniatures and models and shit. Maybe it was a cost. Maybe it was the visual. Who knows? Who knows why he rejected it? But those people went on to make a movie called The Last Starfighter, okay, which was all CGI, right? So this shit worked. It was a. I'm not saying they did the moon landing in CGI. There's other ways to do it, and we know how they did it because they showed us. They have these giant scale models. They even had a whole rig where there was like a fucking 25-foot goddamn moon where someone hand painted the whole thing, and they had a camera that went by it, and it was supposed to be for their simulator for landing on the moon. So the camera would project the image into their little fake simulator capsule, and they would steer it, and then that would move the camera, and it was just to correlate to what they were doing with the stick. Like, they faked it. They did simulations, and those simulations are faking it. And like, he couldn't understand that. If you can do a simulation, you are faking it. If the simulation is realistic. Just fucking. I mean, like, there's no talking to people like that because they want to believe it. It's like you're literally like fucking, like, destroying their god. And which was actually the problem with that other guy with the gas pressure. He just wanted to, like, his whole modus operandi. Some of these guys, I don't know if you guys know, there's some guys that come in here and they only want to preserve outer space. They don't care if the Earth's fucking flat, globe, pizza's fucking planet, pretzels. They don't care what the shape of the Earth is. Just as long as there's outer space and they can get in spaceships and fly away. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. And he was one of those guys, the gas pressure guy. He's just trying to keep the idea, there's an outer space vacuum and I can go into it and I'm going to fly to other freaking planets. Star Wars is a documentary. It's not a movie. You know what I mean? These freaking people, they're cooked.